Greetings. I have a little fun tarot activity today that I have planned. I thought I might want to share with you. It's something that I've tried. But before I start, I want to mention to any of you, particularly if there's anybody, I don't even know if there's anybody watching that doesn't watch my regular tarot videos, but I just want you to be aware um, that I put up a video several days ago. I posted here on YouTube several days ago. It was the day I did 2 videos in one day, and I meant to post one and that day and the another one another day, and I accidentally posted the wrong video. I realized it was up for maybe 1 minute, just 1 minute or 2 minutes, but I took it down right away and I changed it. The reason they had to go in order was the second video that I was trying to postpone. I was trying something new in the video. It was a rather long video on, I was answering some questions that I get very often here on the channel. Some things particularly having to do with spell work and witches jars and some things that people were doing this time of the year, activities people were getting into, and some of the answers that I were giving were very relevant to that. And so, but it was a lengthy video, and I thought I was trying to add a timestamp feature to the video, actually marking. So for those of anybody watching who didn't want to watch a whole hour video, but wanted to just watch what I had to say about a particular feeding a spell or whatever I was talking about, they could find that little section amongst that little section. Seems simple enough, but it was very time consuming. I had to watch that video that I made after I edited it. I had to watch it several times to make sure I got the timestamps in the right place. I was using them for the first time, didn't know what I was doing. Anyway, to get to the point, the video was put up with at the wrong time and the wrong title. I usually don't add my titles till they're uploaded to YouTube before they're published. So I took it down right away. No problems. There were no problems. But what happened was then when I went to post it, it didn't post as my most recent video. It posted as a video that I had made days and days before. So it wasn't coming up as a new video. You weren't being notified. Subscribers were not being notified that I have a new video up, etc. Those kind of, it's just silly. Anyway, 2 reasons I'm bringing it up today is, number one, if you haven't seen the video and you missed it and you might be interested in it, please look for it. It's called, it's just from a week or so ago, but it's just called something about answering my frequently asked questions or whatever. I don't know how I put it. Answer some of your questions. But the reason I wanted, if you're not even interested, then maybe you would like to give me some feedback on how I did the timestamps. If you like that idea of using timestamps for longer videos, I was asking for comments on that. If anybody wanted to offer some comments on that, if you find that helpful or not, I'd like to know, because it takes a long time. You know, it takes a long time for me to edit my videos to begin with. They have to be formatted from one form to another and be edited and uploaded, and it's a lot of time, and that's one of the reasons that I can't bring you videos so quickly. And I know it's very frustrating for me. I know you don't want to watch an hour video, a lot of you, so you'll turn them off and maybe not get to the part you were interested in. So I thought it might be helpful. I hated to do all that work for nothing, but that's the way it is. But at any rate, that was one of the reasons that I wanted to share that experience with you, and just in case. But but of course, the idea of timestamps, I don't know that I will use that necessarily on tarot videos, but anyway, I want to remind you, for everybody, because I've also realized that a lot of my older videos are not being shown. They're buried somewhere in YouTube land. So where I find relevant, I will try to either put things on a playlist for you to make it easier to locate things of similar content, or I will add links or things in the description, or iCards if I can ever figure out iCards, whatever those are. But at any rate, so get into the habit, if you're not in the habit now, of checking in the description box below for any links or information that I might have for you there. I'm doing that to try to save everybody a little bit of time. Giving you links to whatever information I think you might want. So look below. There's a little, either on a computer screen, I think you can see it pretty readily, but on an iPhone or something, you need to check on that little arrow, the down arrow, and it just opens up a description box which will have links. It's something very common to YouTube videos, so many people use them. So it will be helpful for you to in other videos as well, as I was saying, other people's channels. Okay, enough of that. Now down to business. Today I'm going to just do something fun. I don't know how long it's going to be. I'm kind of playing, but I got the idea. I told you I had been reading for you out of the Murder of Crows Tarot that I really like so much. I wanted to do a little more I didn't want to abandon it and go right into my Santa Muerte deck, which I usually do coming into October. I even have some fun ideas that I'm going to be putting the Murder of Crows together with my Santa Muerte deck for some activities a little closer to Samhain. So I just thought I would do some more playing with this deck for you. I know a lot of you were interested in the deck. The cards are kind of fun, particularly for this time of the year. For some reason, people are really getting into crows at this time of the year. And I wanted to play today a little bit with the Urban Crow Oracle, which I got. This is actually it's not a partner deck. It's just they go together really well. There's actually a Crow Tarot by the same author as this Oracle. I don't have it. I hope to get it someday, but I don't have it. But anyway, this it pairs really well with these. I find the deck works well. So we're going to do a little different kind of a thing today. It's going to be sort of a reading, but it's nothing. It's a good kind of a thing to do, a reading to do when you really don't have a question. You just want to do a reading. It's also a really good exercise to do if you're just trying to be able to look at, think of how the cards are relating to each other. This is the kind of an exercise I would love to do. I probably do in my classes when I'm teaching some tarot classes. We do this kind of thing. But I just thought I thought it might be fun for you. So I'm going to just change my camera so that you can see the cards a little better. And I'll show you what we mean. Okay, I don't have a spread. There's no spread here. The idea is, when you read an oracle deck, I shouldn't move that. When you read, there you go. When you read an oracle deck, it's, I read it, and most people tend to read it. First of all, they don't go together. There's like a book, and the book is pretty important, I think, for most people for the oracle deck, because it has some kind of a, there's some kind of some kind of thought or message that goes with each card. Okay, so take the deck out. These are beautiful. These are beautiful cards here on the back. And I'm not even going to worry about shuffling or anything because I'm really, this isn't a reading. This is not supposed to be a reading. Of course, we know how that goes. My cards end up being there when we least expect them. There they are. Telling you what you don't think you want to know, but they tell you anyway. But anyway, what we do is I'm going to use one oracle card, turning one over. Okay, this card is called, I know there's a glare here, I apologize. It's called Release. It's Release. And we see, it's like an underground resting place here. And then we see crows flying up from the resting place. And this card speaks about the time comes, it talks about there's a time that comes when you can't grieve anymore. You've grieved all that you can, and you need, it's time to let go. It's that release of emotion, that release of the feelings that you're holding in or holding inside. It comes when you need help to move forward or when you need help to let go. It says it is time to move on, to rise up and release yourself from the past. This kind of reminds me of that card, of the card in the past card in the past position card in the Celtic cross, but you know, there's the cross in the middle, and there's a center card, and then there's a cross over here representing past, and also any card actually that represents the past in a tarot spread. My thought is that the only reason we read the past is there's a reason we read it. We already know what happened in the past. But if we have a card in the past position in a tarot spread, it usually means because it's either something we're holding on to that we need to let go of, or it's something that we want to remember from the past that is pertinent to whatever the reading is. Okay. Now, this is just generally, this card is just about that sense of when you're holding on to something and it's time to let it go, you need to let it go. It might be that time right now to release something. When this card comes up, it's indicating that the querent that have reached that time. Okay, so it's very important. Their past is important only in the sense of moving away from the past. Okay, so this is the focus of this exercise, of this little narrative that we're going to do, and what I'm going to do to use the narrative to enhance this narrative. Give me a little more information is what I want to see on this, and I'm just going to take the Murder of Crow tarots from the box. Take it out, and there's a book in as well. If I can get that out. A booklet. And there we go, which is a little booklet. And then here we go with the cards. And then what I'm going to do with this is I am just going to turn up, 2 or 3 or 4 cards and and try to relate the cards, not so much go into too much depth of the card itself, but to try to make one story. When we do like a regular reading with positions, etc., even like the Celtic cross that I was just talking about, something with a past, a future, a past, a present, and a future, or something like that. We're talking about the past and the present, in that case of the Celtic cross, representing 2 different stories, or the present story and the future story. Those are different stories, right? They might be related somehow. One might have caused the other one to happen, but in their entirety, they are, the past is the past, the present is the present, the future is the future. In a tarot spread, normally, okay, or generally, that's just okay. In this spread, we want to talk one story. That's what I call it, a narrative. It's like one paragraph or one complete story of its own. So we're talking about a release, and we're going to talk about a release as it relates to. Turn over the first thought, and here we have the 10 of Cups. Release as it relates to the 10 of Cups. And the 10 of Cups normally is representing the people around you. If we look in another deck, we usually see some kind of a family card. It's a family, everybody gathered together. Well, here for the reason, I'm sort of jumping ahead of myself, but the reason I love this is I'm trying to relate crows with crows, and we're looking at crow energy here. So that's why I'm using these 2 decks together. Okay, so I want to look at whatever kind of a spin or a little kind of a, what is the emphasis on the 10 of Cups in the Murder of Crows tarot? Where was the author going for? What dimension of the 10 of Cups what layer of meaning were we looking at in this particular deck? And this particular deck, the Crow tarot, Murder of Crows tarot, talks about the 10 of Cups as being your kith and kin, your family, as it would be in the Rider-Waite. But it's people that are there for you no matter what. People are there. There could be a struggle. There could be squawking and scrapping, fighting over whatever between these birds. But when it comes to them as a community of that, the kith and kin, there's something greater that binds them, and that almost shows a spirit here in the sky, the spirit of the cloud formation, something in the sky that bonds them together. And it says, wingtip to wingtip, you soar and dive together, and they are confident in their next move and on your own. It gives you confidence to stand alone or together, whatever strength you get. Okay, so that idea of rising up. So here we can see we're being the release thing. and depending on those around you to give you the strength to do so. Okay, we continue the narrative with the Queen of Swords, and the Queen of Swords, we normally see her as someone who is very, she is very, her power is in her intellect and her mind. She's very, very gifted in that way. And here we talk about um, in this deck, it talks about her never hesitating to step over corpses in her pursuit. She got where she wanted with that drive within her. Sometimes we look at the Queen of Swords in the Rider Waite as somebody who is maybe sometimes not real, not a warm and cuddly kind of a female figure, but rather someone who sometimes can be more logical, perhaps, or using reason rather than emotion. Okay, so she's not afraid, but she's always gained the wisdom from her experience. And this is relating. We see this release coming. We see dependence upon those around us in our community, getting strength from them, and also getting the wisdom, just like the Queen of Swords, learning to edit out of her life things that are not necessary. We just edit them out. We strike them down with that sword, and we only keep what is necessary to achieve what it is we want, with the support, of course, of our kith and kin. We can go on. We can go here. We get to the Three of Swords. The Three of Swords. It talks about survival. Remove by only way to survive is removing the source of the pain. Okay, we still have scars that remain, but that scars might be there. But if we keep paying attention to the scars and never move on, we will not free ourselves from the pain. So it is it is the healing. It's not all about just that, that disagreement or that, whatever betrayal or whatever is happening with the Three of Swords. It's not that actual pain. Focus on the pain. Yes, you're going to have a scar from that pain, but you're going to move on from it. Okay, and maybe we can take one more in this. And here we have, oh, look at this. We have the Strength card. We have the Strength card. Whatever you have inside you, those scars that you have built up inside you, all of the memories that you have, getting rid of what you don't need, and depending on who you have around you for support, give you the strength that you need to what? To release and rise up. One narrative with these different cards. Okay, let's try another one. See how it works. I want to get my cards mixed up here. Okay, we'll take another one. We'll take another one from the deck. Whoops. They're very slippery. A lot of the tendency with these new decks is to give them a gloss. Oh, here we have the community. We're back to the community. Oh, lovely. Okay. We have a community. And here we're talking about, of course, the place of sanctuary. This is not just the people around you, which we saw in the last card, which we saw in the release card, but we see the that community is a place that you go when you need to be comforted. Going back to that community, going back and think about that. You tend to lean on people that you feel most comfortable with. It could be your family, but it's not always your family. It could be your best friends. It could be anything, but or a place that you feel you get the most peace from. I'm trying to keep putting that up because of the glare. So this story here, where this narrative is going to have to do something about community. Remember, these cards are going to relate back to this in some way. And we go again to the Murder of Crows. We see the King of Cups. He's a lovely fellow, King of Cups. And it talks about his wise counsel as being his greatest gift. And again, he tells you to lean. He says he doesn't make any move out of anger. He doesn't, the King of Cups is very grounded in his emotions. He's an authority figure, but he's grounded. He's at peace. Okay. And here it talks about the interesting thing I like about this. Two actually interesting points about the King of Cups in this deck is it talks about he's learned to he gets joy by taking on other people's pain. He takes that their pain and he eases their pain. He gives them comfort. He provides them the comfort. Um, he has on his back, sitting on his chair, talks about his two counselors, these two persons, at the back of his chair here, named thought and memory, and that's where they take their proper place at his side. That he has learned to listen to both of them. He knows it's unwise to trust just his own judgment, and that's the thing, people who do not have this community to talk to lean on other people to, be their sounding board or whatever, sometimes make decisions that are not so good. It's wonderful to have somebody to counsel you, somebody that you can trust, to learn from their experience. In many communities, that is the older it used to be anyway. In many families, you go to your father, you go to your grandfather or your mother. But here, the male figure here, and get some experience, some wisdom from their experience, advice, or from a counselor of some kind. We also have here, here she is trying to get out. Here's the Eight of Swords, and she's trying to get out. She's trying to get all about herself. You see, she's all trapped, and that's what causes even more terror. That feeling of being trapped. Um, and it says you can get out of your own prison when you make your prison, but it's going to take some kind of work. Um, and so, again, you don't have to have a community. You can do it on your own. But this is so much harder. It's so much harder to try to do it on your own. Okay? Or without the benefit of experience. Again, it's all related to the same story. Here we have the Eight of Wands. The crows here are perched upon the wands, rising up out of the brambles below them. They have grown out. They're ready to fly. The book says they're ready to fly free at this point. Ready to, and it talks about you feeling your own wings. Here she's got her arms tied, doesn't she? She doesn't feel her wings, but it's talking about they have risen up out of the brambles. This community has risen up on the brambles. They will tell you so if you ask them. Rising up out of the brambles. Feel your own wings and get ready to fly free. Okay, that's what you have to do. And finally, the Five of Swords. The Five of Swords is talking about, in this, it's not just this, it's some kind of a disruption or struggle has taken place or whatever taking place. But there's always going to be something happening. It reminds you there's always going to be something. And you need to be prepared. You need to be prepared. You need to be ready to strike. You need to be ready to strike when it comes. You can't sit. I'm sorry about the glare of my light here. You cannot sit and keep yourself tied, arms tied. You need to be like the crows. Rise up and have your own power, but also be ready to strike when you need to. Be ready to strike when you need to. The lesson coming from community. Okay. Getting your strength from others, gaining the wisdom from others, getting the experience from others, and fending for yourself. Ultimately, it's going to ultimately be up to you in the end, right? What happens. Okay, we can try one more if we want to. Isolation. Ooh, look at that poor bird. I don't know if you can see it, but it's like it looks like snow outside. It looks like rain or sleet or something, and he's sitting here, and everybody's flying away. Flying away. It talks about. Oh, I love this card. Because these cards. Oh, it's so interesting how these cards are all relating to each other, aren't they? Because one big story, but actually these could be chapters in one story. It talks about even when you are in a group, We all have that experience of being in a group and still feeling alone, like we don't belong. Maybe we just don't belong. Maybe we're just, for some reason, it's maybe not all the time you feel that way, but sometimes we all feel that from time to time. We have those experiences, maybe it turned against you for whatever reason. It's hard to tell, but we all have that. But instead of sitting there and feeling all isolated and alone, this card, I like this because this card recommends during those times, you use that time to go inward and examine what ideas or insights you might have. And it's interesting because I think a lot of empaths became empathic with these kind of experiences. I think myself as an empath, I didn't maybe realize I was an empath at the time, but I had a lot of experiences in my life where I felt like I didn't belong, and I sort of turned inward. And I think during that time, I did a lot of looking around and as an outsider looking into those around me or the group I was in, and um, I learned a lot of lessons from that, and I gained a lot of insight about people in that way. So that's kind of interesting. It also talks about, this also could mean, we could also be talking about that you need this time to move away. It might indicate a need to remove yourself from a situation to quiet yourself and to see what your next move is. So we're going to look at 4 more cards and see what it has to say about isolation. What the Murder Crow's narrative would be for that. The first one we have is the Two of Pentacles, which is all about balance. Um, so it's time for balancing something. And it says, I like that. Look how they're turned away from each other, the crows. Can you see that on the picture? The book mentions it is difficult to serve 2 masters. Everything that you love, everything will give you a blessing. But you need to give them their proper attention to maintain balance. So you need to pay attention. It's not just about turning away and completely avoiding it. It has to be there. But you cannot focus so much about this feeling of isolation, not fitting in. You need to use it for your advantage. You need to use it towards your advantage, either learn from it or use it to do some contemplation or whatever. But you can't serve both masters. In other words, you can't be obsessed with I don't fit in, how am I going to do anything, which takes away your confidence to do your own thing, right? You need to get them in perspective. It's getting things in perspective where the balance comes from. Here we have the Ten of Pentacles. Interesting. The Ten of Pentacles, again, goes back to that group situation. The group situation, Ten of Pentacles, usually is all that abundance and comfort and everything's, the happy home. And here we have getting, again, strength from the tribe. And it says, sifting through things from the past, you find objects that are useful for yourself and others. When you draw from shared resources, there's enough for everybody. Okay, so this is not withdrawing from this sense, not completely withdrawing, but keeping, perhaps finding where you belong. Maybe if it is a reason that you didn't belong with the group you're in, finding the group you do belong. Or just realizing, as a sense of balance, sometimes you'll be with the flow, sometimes you'll be against the flow. Sometimes the tide comes in, sometimes the tide goes out. When the tide is in, when it's with you, draw from it. Draw from it. When it's not with you, when you're not fitting in, use it to your advantage. Use it to contemplate. Use it to observe. Whatever. Don't worry about it. Don't dwell on it. Then we go. Oh, we have the Queen of Cups. We have the Queen of Cups next. And here the Queen of Cups is talking about having. Oh, I love this. Oh, look at the shadow of the crow in the background. I love that. It talks about her possessing a quiet mind and an open heart. She can drink in your pain. She can drink in your pain and distill wisdom from it. That idea of alchemy, that idea of the magician, right? That whole taking one thing and using it for something else, turning it into something else. And it is kindness. Kindness is the balm she offers in the Gray's Goblet. It has the power to wash away the dirt in the ugly world. So this ugly world, this ugly sense of isolation, all right, keeping it in perspective, drawing upon your community when you have the community, but also kindness, looking at, give people a break. Give people a break. You know, when they're, group things are always hard because we keep forgetting it's not always us against the group. It's us with a lot of other us's in the group, right? It's me as an individual and a lot of other me individuals, their own me's. It's not, they're not always a group. They're all individuals, and their emotions and their needs and everything is being. The group is so. The group is having to keep a balance in that way. Okay. Notice in this picture of the crows, there's always enough. Those who are out returning and bringing back, they're either bringing to these crows to share what they have found, or what these crows have found, they're calling for these birds to come and share it. Either way, see, there's sometimes you're the giver, sometimes you're hunter, sometimes you're the recipient. Okay. And if we pull one more card from here, we have the magician. Hold on. Okay, we have the magician, which is the alchemist, right? Which is the alchemist. Taking the tools you have. He has all the tools in his hand, but where's the power? And I love this card. This is one of my favorite lessons that I try to teach people. The magic is not in the cup. The magic is not in the sword or the pentacle or the wand. That's not where the magic is. It's not in your tools. The magic is within. And this card describes the magician as saying, the indrawn breath becomes the exhalation. Now is the time for words of power. You speak your mind and your wishes become truths. What you envision becomes a new reality. It talks about these elemental powers are there to help you. And that's exactly what, we do when we're performing spells. We use the elemental powers. We call upon the elements to help us, the energies of the elements. We call upon the elements, we call upon the deities of the god and the goddess to help us, and our own desires to manifest. This became a story. I really like this exercise. You don't have to have these cards to do the exercise, I don't think. I think it's possible, very possible, to do them without this little, let me get these out of the way. Well, let me see. First of all, let me get a drink. And I'll reach over here and get my hoi polloi. You don't have to have Crow deck to do this. You can make a narrative out of any cards. I can take there's just my regular hoi polloi deck, and I can just take, from my what's the story? The title of my story. This is about the lovers. This is the lovers card, which could mean about a relationship or could mean about maybe a choice you made or whatever. I don't know yet. I don't know what the story's about until I lay a narrative about it. So we just pick some cards and we pull out some cards. Here I can see some kind of a celebration, maybe. Celebration. Here's achievement. Something has, a real happy. The sun represents it's again moving. It can be moving on to something new and bigger and brighter. It's something new. It's a new day. It's beginning. So we have this lovers. Maybe that was a relationship, or maybe that was some kind of partnership, but here's a celebration. But here we're now moving on beyond the celebration with the Sun card, aren't we? Perhaps moving on towards something new to celebrate. I'm not sure. Let's look and see. Oh, we have the Five of Swords. Five of Swords. Okay. Again, we talk about the maybe there you have to. It's sometimes it's time to move on. There's been some kind of a problem here, so it's time to move on. So maybe there was a relationship problem, which was everything was going really well, but it maybe is turning into something new. Time to turn into something new. I wish I could worry about that. Ah, I put them down there. There's no glare. That works. Okay. That always does a glare. The alpha delivers error. Now there's no glare. Okay. So we can see that. Anyway, this is talking about, yes, there's altercations. And we learned before that, there's always going to be something. But it's not about, the Five of Swords is not necessarily about the struggle. It's maybe about the moving on. When to give in. Okay, when to give in. Uncle. Okay, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to move on. Let's look one more card. Ah, that's interesting. The Moon card. The Moon, I have a quote up on my wall here that I associate with the Moon card sometimes that says, memories are the mirrors. Memories are the mirrors, which I kind of like that because, looking back, if we want to look back, this is about going forward. Isn't this? This card is about going forward. If we're talking about a relationship here, the relationship has not ended. The relationship has changed into something new. Okay. It's time. It's time. There's been some struggles and it's time to move on. Everything was good here, but it's a different time. And now we see with moving on, we need to recall the memories as mirrors as to what things were. We need to look, remember the Moon card has this, we don't see clearly in the Moon. We see there's things in the shadows that we don't always see. And it isn't until the sun comes out in the morning that we see everything that is really there. There can be some, some things are illusions. Some things are, we sense, sometimes we sense things around us in the dark, in the shadows that maybe are there or maybe are not there. Things can hide or things can be, misunderstood. You don't want to have delusions. You don't want to suffer from delusions. You want to be able to see things. And when we talk about memories being like mirrors, it's causing you, to be reflecting back. Do we want to be the same we were, or do we want to be something new? If we keep wanting to go back to this in the way we used to be, we want to keep going back to the way we used to be. We have to remember that it's not the same. You can't ever go backwards. You can look backwards, but you can't ever go backwards. So this is about finding that new reality and seeing things clearly this time, not suffering from delusions, not suffering. If you're talking about a relationship, you could be talking about a relationship, a young relationship versus an older, long established relationship. Come to see what's really truth, not what you hope to be the truth, but what is really the truth. Okay, it's just a little exercise. This isn't really a reading, but it's an exercise that shows you a real fun thing to do with the deck. You can do that with any deck alone. Here I did it with my hoi polloi alone. You could do it in a combination of course, here I did it with my Crow Tarot and my Murder of Crows Tarot and my Urban Crow Oracle. You can do it with any oracle and any deck. I always say, though, I do recommend when you're going to be combining decks that you kind of, make sure the decks are going to play nice with each other. Well, there you go. I was just recording to nobody. I didn't have my record button pushed. What I was trying to say is you can do this exercise with this narrative. is a type of reading you can do simply with one deck. You can put two decks together, like I did, an oracle and an oracle deck and a regular tarot deck. That's a fun way to do it. You don't have to have the crow tarot. You can put any two decks together that you like. I just was recommending if you're going to put decks together, you find two decks that play nicely together. You wouldn't want to put something like, I used the example just a minute ago, which I realized that didn't make sense. The Smurf deck, which I don't think there's a Smurf deck. I hope not. There might be. I know most of you watching probably don't even know who the Smurfs were. I kind of forgot about them until just now. They were little blue creatures that were, everything was blue. I don't know, I think when my youngest daughter was little, their friends like Smurfs. I don't, kind of disturbing. Anyway, maybe it was before that. It was, anyway, you wouldn't want to pair up a Smurf deck with like a vampire oracle. That's the example that I was trying to use. I don't know how nicely it would play together. But to you, that might make perfect sense. If it works for you, makes perfect sense to you, go ahead and do it. Anyway, this is just an exercise. Again, it's an exercise. It's a fun reading, a quick reading if you don't have a question. If you do have a question, or you just want to do a little exercise, or you want to practice coming up with quick how to, with one card, get a quick meaning on one card and another card, and doing quick how it will relate, how your cards relate. When I teach tarot classes, I'm always trying to do exercises so we get used to relating one card to another, because in every reading, the cards do not stand alone. When you put cards together in a spread, or however you put them together, you're putting them together for a reason. They relate. Again, this is telling one story, though, as compared to in normal readings, we usually, especially those that involve past, present, future, we're talking about maybe separate stories coming together with some commonality. But in this exercise, it's one story. That's the importance of the exercise. Reading however many cards you put down. It doesn't have to be how many I used. It could be 3 cards. It could be how many you think, but relate them together. Almost like you're reading Lenormand cards, but with a little more detail. Now, Lenormand, I realized we started Lenormand and we never went past the very beginning, which I will get to. We're going to get to it. There's just a lot of things that keep getting in the way. Other subjects get in the way that I have to get attention to, but this I haven't forgotten. They're coming. All right. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Tell me know if you give this a try. If you found it useful, I would love to hear about it. As always, I'm Rebecca, and I wish you blessed.